Okay, great. So, first things first, why have you decided to run?
Yeah, so I'm Angela Gonzales-Torres. I am running for Congress in the heart of Los Angeles. I'm sure you've heard of us. Los
Yeah,
Angeles is pretty known. I'm a lifelong Angelino. I'm five generations here, and I decided to run really because I believe housing, healthcare, and safe, fully funded schools is bare minimum for every Angelino, every American, and just everyone. And
yeah.
so I am the daughter of a deportee. I've experienced my own father's deportation back to Mexico when I was a child. Really feel the urgency of this moment with what
Yeah.
families are going through under the terror that ICE is inflicting on so many of us. And so my students really asked me to run. I work at a community college, and
Oh, that's
um,
amazing.
they all have experienced incarceration at some point. We have one of the
Yeah.
largest jail systems on the face of the planet here in the district. And so when my students asked me to consider running, I I recognized these are people that have been the most hurt by the system, but have the most
Yeah.
hope that we can change it. And so here we are.
Great. Well, what are your main priorities?
Yeah, I think affordability is on everyone's mind
Yeah.
across the
Yeah.
country, across the world. Accountability is very important to me as well, being the only woman in this race. A Latina born in East LA. We're dealing with today, as we speak, an environmental crisis that's
Yeah.
generational. And we are also dealing with a pattern in which appears that we have a culture in Congress where men abuse women. And so I really take both of those things seriously, as well as access
Yeah.
and the abolishment of ICE. Those are my four priorities right now.
Great. So let's talk a bit about the affordability issue. What are your policies for to tackle that problem?
Yeah, I think that what we are dealing with here in Los Angeles, on a federal level is we quite literally are paying into a government, and this administration is robbing us of our tax dollars
Yeah.
to enrich themselves. They are pleading with the Supreme Court to continue to starve Americans by cutting SNAP benefits that support working families like my own,
Yeah.
all while building a ballroom. And um, this government is disappearing people and killing people, with
Yeah.
our tax dollars, both now here in our streets. We just saw that in Maine and Texas, these
Yeah.
attacks are ramping up, but also we're very aware here in Los Angeles, increasingly aware that our tax dollars are also funding a genocide abroad in Gaza. And we
Yeah.
have called for the end to endless wars for a long time. I am born in the Chicano movement that was born out of the protesting the Vietnam War. And then some of my earliest memories was protesting the Iraq and Afghanistan invasions. And I think
Great.
that now we really do have a generation of people that are saying we don't want our tax dollars to commit human rights violations, atrocities.
Yeah.
We want them to be invested in our communities across this district. And we are really picking up from the student led movement that we saw the encampments across the world in solidarity with the Palestinian liberation movement. But that also
Yeah.
allows us to bring a research focused approach to policy. So instead of a Congress member like my opponent throwing money at the homelessness issue, we are really looking at the root causes that lead to that. And one of it is that there's just too many people profiting off of our pain and our problems.
Yeah.
And these are corporations. And so we need to look at revising annual median income index and things like that so that we can address the policy failures, but also invest with care. And day
Yeah.
one, sign on to block the bombs. Day one, sign on to stop price gouging in our grocery stores. They want sign on to abolish super PACs. So, someone like me could actually run for Congress and not have to challenge $125 million from big AI trying to build data centers in communities like mine. So all of this is happening now for a reason because we are getting
Yeah.
more informed and more involved. And I think that it's because too many of us are living paycheck to paycheck. And when we have nothing left to lose, we have everything to gain. And so we definitely are fighting for um,
Yeah.
to get for affordability, but to make sure the cost of living doesn't get in the way of us being able to live our lives.
Yeah, there's an opportunity for, candidates, younger candidates supporting this ideas of, more affordability and ending the constant, the endless wars
Yeah.
outside the American soil. Uh, so, what are your plans for healthcare? What are your policies in regards to healthcare?
This is somewhere I take a real educational approach as well, because here in California, we've been fighting for cow care for a long time.
Yeah,
And it was just it not passed, struck down by our governor. And I think that partly is because we need to advocate for ourselves as well.
yeah,
Too many of us here are comfortable or used to being able to cross the border into Tijuana to get the care that we need at a
yeah,
fraction of the cost. And I think that when I saw we could not pass care this time, I realized we needed to take a different approach. And so we started to have these conversations where in every classroom that we can be in, from fourth grade to college, universities,
yeah,
every campus that we can be at, from Occidental College to Cal State LA, UCLA, to just let people know and really ask them, why do we not have universal healthcare? Um, no one can really pinpoint why. And it's really
yeah,
because, again, there was a $70 billion profit made off of the lack of just, a couple of years ago. And it's not something that I take lightly, because healthcare is elder care, right? It's making sure every child has access to safety. And now my friends are all having children, and pregnancy care is huge, right? And so I think
yeah,
I'm learning a lot because of um, my advocacy, but other people need to know that this is possible too, not only in California, but across the country. And so I think that we need to take another approach to ensuring that people understand we can't afford to provide healthcare for everyone. I talk to people abroad all the time. I think that's the number one thing that confuses other people in
yeah,
different parts of the world. Why doesn't Americans fight for healthcare for all?
yeah,
And yeah, I do think that we can invest in preventative care, as well as invest with care after, diagnoses. I'm working with people in recovery, right? Substance abuse is
yeah,
care, is healthcare. Mental health services is healthcare. And so we just need a different approach, because I think that we've been desensitized for a long time. We've never had universal healthcare in
yeah,
my life. And so how do we make sure people understand that we can afford it and we can achieve it, like, rapidly, so that's my approach. I think finally, in communities like mine, where it's the one of the largest immigrant populations in the country, we really do need to strengthen our public healthcare infrastructure as well, by supporting our community health centers, our community clinics,
yeah,
because they provide so much to our communities. And so the lack of healthcare is obviously very hard on constituents, on community members, but it's also hard on the nurse practitioners and doctors that are overwhelmed by the amount of people that don't have health care, and so rely
yeah,
on community clinics. And so that's a partnership that I've been building now. And those are also, um, you know, increasingly being defunded in rural areas too, not just in
Yeah,
underserved inner cities like mine. So it's actually a nationwide topic that we're really proud to be part of.
yeah. I even
We've
think
got
that
some things to
education,
figure. Yes.
yeah. No, I even think that education is part of healthcare. That was the only thing
Yes.
I wanted to say.
That's what I keep saying. And everyone's
Yeah,
like, okay. But talking with you, I'm realizing I had some conversations with students in France, and they were
yeah,
blown away by the stories that we have of people
yeah,
even getting stuck with medical debt and they're living in tents now, So actually, education is healthcare, and then ensuring healthcare is homelessness prevention because so many people living on the
yeah,
streets are drowning in medical debt. And so we can address all of it, especially if we can do that here in Los Angeles. I think it could have a domino effect.
yeah. Um, well, because you're in a district that is, basically one of the districts with a very important immigrant community, I wanted to ask about the problems that you're having right now with regards to civil rights and civil liberties, and of course um, the ICE terror.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you specifically um, want to know about it? I feel like it's a different world than even having lived through my own father's deportation. I still would have never, ever, ever imagined we would be seeing what we're seeing today. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, do you have a more specific question or just generally my thoughts on it?
Yeah, more generally, maybe then we can go into some specifics, but first, your general
Yeah.
approach, it would be nice.
I believe that protecting civil liberties, as you stated,
Yeah,
and constitutional rights and freedoms is one of Congress's most important responsibilities. And that is why I'm running particularly for this seat, because Congress has the power to push back against this overreach on behalf of the federal
yeah,
government right now. And whether we want to call it overreach or violations and abuses, every person deserves equal protections under the law,
yeah,
and that includes freedom of speech, that includes the right to privacy, that includes based on anyone's immigration status, gender, or income. That's what I grew up believing,
yeah,
and that's especially, I think, that is an important part to continue to say now so that we make sure this is not normalized. This is not normal, what is happening.
yeah,
And I think in regards to immigration enforcement, I believe the current immigration system is deeply flawed, to say the least. I believe in abolishing ICE. Not only am I saying that now, but like I said, my father being removed from this country after serving this country, he's a deported veteran. That's a common thing.
yeah.
Um, I think
That's
we've been saying
awful.
this for a long time. Yeah, I can't imagine what that feels like. And I think that um, I also just have been working with undocumented students for a long time. And what they contribute to our country and our communities is so special that I've been fighting for opportunities for all for a long time, just to even have the opportunity to speak on behalf of my colleagues that I recognized at UCLA, because of their immigration status, they did not have access to jobs on campus or the same access to
Yeah,
scholarships or housing or anything, in addition to being charged out of state tuition to get the same education that I was granted for free on a full scholarship, just based on where I happen to be born. And so I also support creating a fair pathway to citizenship for
yeah,
undocumented individuals who are dreamers, who are our neighbors, who are also not the problem. I think that this country for a long time has treated human beings like they are the problem, like we have a
yeah,
migrant crisis or a homelessness crisis, when really we have a crisis of greed. And I think that we are shedding light on how we need to get corporate money's influence out of our politics, because there's no reason why someone representing Los Angeles,
Yeah,
who is masquerading as a progressive, but he is a Republican funded Democrat. This is really why we can't achieve a pathway to citizenship that is fair and humane. And that is why we're seeing what we're seeing today, because uh, there's there is so much divide in this country that I think um, we need to address the actual problems, which it is this influx of money in our politics,
yeah.
um, and the budget that ICE just received, which is unacceptable.
Do you think that there needs to be, some sort of that? Do you think that Citizens United should be overturned?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And this is also why I've taken the political integrity pledge, because that promise to work toward overturning Citizens United starts now while we're campaigning. If we're in the
Yeah,
pockets of those corporations, like my opponent is, you can't ensure that you're fighting back against them. So we're building a slate across the country that are winning our primaries. We're winning our elections because people are seeing through all of that. And they know we
yeah,
can't fight back against Trump's cruel agenda if we are supported by the same donors. So I think that's our priority, absolutely. And then also, I think even just locally, what we're not talking a lot about, because understandably we have a lot going on, but these
yeah,
private prisons are being reopened, and these planes that are being used to again disappear people. I mean, we just saw um, migrants be removed from the country, and because of the earthquake in Venezuela,
yeah,
they were in a building that collapsed. And those planes that removed people are owned partly by the Trump family, and it's just a very inhumane, vicious cycle that we're talking about all of that.
yeah. They even sent people to some different countries. They were not born there. I've seen they've done that.
Yes, and I've been supporting family members that are not recognized by their home country, mostly Southeast Asian countries, and it puts
Yeah,
them in the limbo. So they're either to be detained in downtown LA in horrific conditions, people die in detention centers, or they're to be removed to El Salvador or somewhere that they just don't, they have no ties to.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
really horrific. And I think that also we're tracking some stories out of Alligator Alcatraz, where people are still looking for their loved ones. And because the
yeah,
news cycle is so overwhelmed, we don't hear those stories. But our campaign is really trying to connect those dots, because I think there will be a time where we hold these people accountable for what they've done.
yeah. I think I should mention that, ICE has killed two different people this same week. Well, these last days
Yeah.
it was Lorenzo Salgado and Joan Sebastian Guerrero. I think that these are the names. It,
Yes.
it it comes a little closer to me because the last name Salgado comes from the specific area of where I live, so in
Wow.
Spain. So it's like, it's not a connection in it's not family, or I didn't know this guy, but I know that,
Yeah.
that last name comes from where I live. So it's a little bit of, it's, it touches you in some ways.
Yeah.
So how are communities standing up to ICE right now?
Yeah, thank you for sharing that too, because I think that we haven't been able to catch our breath, and
Yeah,
running a full-time campaign for Congress sometimes um leaves you in such a strict schedule that there's not time to process. But those two men that their children being present in some way, whether the daughter in the
They
back
found
seat.
out they found out on Facebook, I think.
That one really, really, really
Yeah.
impacted me as well because you can put yourself in their shoes and
Yeah, totally.
it's
Yeah.
horrific. It's horrific. I had chills. I had a moment to sit with our team and our volunteer base where it's the high and lows because we had a really good weekend out in the community, but then
Yeah.
seeing that news brings you back down to the reality. And so that is the reality. I think we are fighting with what resources that we have. And um, many organizers on the ground have called for an emergency protest today that I will be at a press
Yeah.
conference in a little while as well, so that we can continue to stand in solidarity and make our voices heard. And I think that that's what we can do now. And of course, also, um, people are getting ready to vote in November. I think that we're going to
Yeah.
prove that this administration, with the Republican majority that it has, will it will not stand. And so we're ready to exercise all of our civil liberties, whether it's, peacefully protesting
Yeah.
or participating and unseating someone who has taken, past campaign contributions from these private prisons and ICE detention centers. And people are talking about how to streamline the communication because people are afraid. And so maybe we're doing more community meetings
Yeah.
on in person versus online and things like that. So it's a really awful, scary time. But I think the beautiful thing is it's intergenerational. I see so many young people ready to push back, and
Yeah.
I haven't seen that in this way before, not here in Los Angeles. And so I'm hoping that no other family has to endure what we just saw out of Maine and Texas this week.
Yeah. All right. Well, the last question, and I'll let you go,
Yes.
is about foreign policy, and of course, this endless wars we mentioned before, and of course, where do you stand on this important issue?
I will always be an anti-war human and therefore an anti-war candidate. I think
Yeah.
that what I've learned, especially just having conversations around Congressman Ro Khanna being detained by Israeli settlers this week as well,
Yeah.
um, is that just really echoes that our tax dollars are being used to divide, detain, and just terrorize people, specifically Palestinians right now, but it does not
Yeah.
end there. I think that it's a really important issue for me because I have been raised to understand that yes, we all do eventually deserve to rest in peace, but we deserve to live in it too. And I think
Yeah.
I am moved by my responsibility to the next generation here in Los Angeles to ensure, they're not set up with the budget cuts or they don't have to endure all of that.
Yeah.
I work at a community college. I get people that can't read at a third grade level. We need to invest in our communities here, and push for
Yeah.
accountability elsewhere. And so um, that's an ongoing conversation, especially with regard to this war in Iran that nobody asked for, and
Yeah.
just constant imperialistic ventures that no no voter I talk to regardless of what side of the aisle they
Yeah.
are or where they're registered, which party, I think no one wants this. And so how do we how do we make sure our government is reflective of what voters want? And that is to continue to stand up and stand against endless wars.
Yeah. This is not America first.
This is the furthest thing. It's
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
it's really wild because I talk to people that have voted for Trump both times, or maybe some voted for him the first
Yeah.
time. And I think that what people want is authenticity, and what people want is accessibility. and
Yeah.
accountability. And for some reason, he's practiced how to perform that. But we are seeing through the political performance, and we want a political system that will um, truly put us first. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it had to take us getting here, but I would have never imagined I would be running for Congress unless the Palestinian movement made its way to my UCLA campus, where I happened to learn that my Congress member is one of 5 of the top recipients of campaign contributions from APAC, and I was like,
Yeah.
well, what is APAC? And then it's like a whole black hole of knowledge
Yeah.
that we've been down.
I
So,
know. I know.
right, you too, probably. How did you get here? Tell me a little, do you mind telling me a little bit about what you're studying, or how are
Yeah,
you?
well, I studied political science and then international relations. Um I I focused on British politics first, but then I got to a point where I was a little bit bored, and
Yeah.
and I decided to focus more on American politics. My faculty, the professors that I had very were deeply rooted in studies of the School of Chicago, the School of Rochester, all the different political science schools in America. So I had this feeling that I would end up, here analyzing
Wow.
this elections. I think it was meant to be. I think.
Wow. Yeah, we need it. I know. I have again those students across the world are looking into specifically super PACs and their influence. And it's probably so different from how Spain is um similar issues, but just different. It's
Yeah. Well.
interesting,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
right?
it's different, but I agree with most of what you said. So.
Yeah, yeah. I just feel that now, it's just becoming clear healthcare, housing, schools. This is bare minimum. People are like, you're so
Yeah.
radical or progressive. I'm like, that's bare minimum.
No, that's not radical. That's not
It's not
radical.
right. I get radical a
It's
lot.
the
Yeah.
minimum. I think it's the it's the normal, it's like the normal way of doing politics.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
are the basic needs. And then of course there are secondary issues, but healthcare is very important.
Healthcare,
Housing is
bare
very
minimum.
important. If you don't have your basic needs covered, then what's the point of politics? I think that way. I don't know if
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. And then I'm like, and then we just, have mass incarceration we need to address, and the
Yeah.
environment. I feel like the environmental advocacy has taken a back seat, even though I sometimes think it's the most important. We have all these
Yeah.
fires and climate crisis, and then lack of emergency
Heat
preparedness,
waves. We've
heat
had
waves. Yes,
a very, terrible heat wave this summer. Terrible.
really. Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. See, I even forgot about that. I remember seeing that. Yes, and I feel like we can't talk about it because we're just dealing with so much. But
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
always
So
going
many
to
issues.
so many things. Talking to you, I thought, oh, I have a lot of work to do. Okay. So good to meet you, Lorena. I gotta get to this press conference. Um,
Yeah, of
but
course.
if you have any other questions, you have our email.
No, all the questions that I had, you responded, so it's okay.
Perfect. Okay. Sounds good. See
Thank
you
you.
later.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and we'll talk soon, I hope. But take care.
Take care. Bye.